talking about returning to us who produced the value that we saw all around us, the value and access that we need in order to continue to be productive and continue to produce the things that we need to meet our needs and elevate the quality of life in our communities.
Yeah,
All right?
yes.
There's a sad story about the early reparations movement. That some of the early advocates for reparations were actually, it was a retired Confederate colonel he was advocating for reparations for the formerly enslaved people. You know what he was going to use it for? Why he wanted it to happen? He said it would be an economic stimulus.
Yeah.
He said that the problem in the South was kind of bad, and if you actually put a bunch of money in the hands of a bunch of the folk who were enslaved, they're still going to spend it. And if you spend it, it's going to bump up the economy. Where were they going to spend it? The stores was white. The economy was white, right? So they were going to take it and spend it.
Right.
So I never think about it in terms of, can I get something that we can spend? Because right now, as long as I live inside of this economy as it currently is, I had a bet that many of the people, certainly not all, who got settlements out of the pig for soup, when the many that got the $50,000 and couldn't, because they couldn't prove the details of a whole lot of stuff, but they got a lot of them probably, they spend it. And it's a nice chunk of change that allow you to buy a couple of cars, part of an education for your children, part of an education for your children, part of a house, but you spend it, and so it goes together. We need to return to a condition when we have access to what we need in order to be productive.
Yeah.
And be a productive people. I want to talk about the production and why I keep saying be productive people with another story. This one from South Africa. A few years ago, I worked with some people in Greensboro, North Carolina. We got a Truth and Reconciliation project. And a guy named Bugatti Finker, who's a minister from South Africa, who had been involved in the South African Truth and Reconciliation process, came over and he told us a story about a man named Thabo, who had had his cow stolen by Mr. Smith. Now, Mr. Smith was told during the truth process period in South Africa that, well, if you tell the truth and confess what you've done, we'll grant you amnesty. So Smith goes, well, yeah, okay. Smith comes into the meeting with Thabo, and Smith goes, Thabo, I want to admit that I stole your cow. It was wrong. I should not have done it. I recognize now all the suffering your family has gone through without this cow, and I want to sincerely apologize. That was the condition to get amnesty, right? So Thabo, here's the deal. He thinks he had never expected to hear Smith admit to stealing the cow and apologize for it. So Thabo is visibly moved by it. They shake hands, they embrace, they probably even pray to each other, something like that. So Smith starts walking out the door. Where's my cow? Thabo goes, but wait a minute. Right. Smith said, what's the matter? He said, what about the cow? Yeah. So Smith said, the cow, this has nothing to do with the cow. You are ruining our reconciliation. Now, Thabo, of course, it's got everything to do with the damn cow, but I still don't have a cow. You sold the cow, you apologize, you've acknowledged and all that. They about to let you go, and I still don't have my cow. So, suppose, like some people are doing in this country, that might make some people mad when I say this. There's some people talking about guaranteed income and stuff. To me, that's like somebody stole your cow and then they offer you a supply of butter. Hell, if you give me back my damn cow, I can give you butter. I want the cow. I want to be productive. I want what I need in order to be productive for myself and my community. We don't have to be beggars in the world. Right. We don't need everybody to be on welfare. We need to be fully productive, and to be productive means to have access again to the earth, that ball of dirt, and to them bones, that pile of wealth that has been created out of the thousands of years of our labor. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about, and that to me is the return, the creation of a commons where everybody can reasonably expect to have meaningful access to the finances they need to buy the equipment that they want to do and the land that they would want to work it on so they can be fully productive, because each one of us is capable of producing more than we need for ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
You know how I know that? Because if that weren't true, you couldn't have an exploitative system. Right. You can't exploit people if all they can produce is just what they need for themselves, because the exploiter is getting all the rest. Right. So the condition, the fundamental economic conditions we live under, is that people who own these productive assets tell you that you can work and you can take a little bit for yourself and all the rest belongs to them. The entire surplus of production belongs to the owners. All right? Which means that we try to eke out a living. And sometimes we would wish that we had enough of the portion of our living that we're eking out to save it up so that we can buy the means of production. But the wages are set in such a way that the amount of it is just about enough for you to live. And not a whole lot in addition to that. And it isn't living just by having 2,000 calories a day, because we don't live like that. We have to produce another wave of, we have to produce a new generation of people to be exploited, right? And for that we need enough to educate them, to entertain them at a level so they don't go out and destroy themselves and others, to mislead and confuse their minds. You know, sometimes we talk about education as though it's a value neutral, or it's a simply positive proposition. My contention is that we're not born knowing much anything, and so all of what we know one way or the other is education, including how to say, do you want me to supersize that, sir? You want a large order of fries? That's education. You have to learn how to do that, right?
Yes, you do.
I saw some school in Detroit, but they actually had a class where they were teaching people how to work fast food. And I think that's kind of terrible. But working in Walmart, it requires education. But so does designing spaceships. So does designing windmills. And so does having a liberatory education. 5 minutes? Oh, I can wrap this up in 5 minutes. So, a liberatory education has a huge value. The education for servitude has precious little value. And a lot of times we talk about go get an education and don't tell people what kind of education they should be seeking. So I think I'm in a school here. Right? I think there's some people here who are thinking about that and who realize that young people deserve and need a liberatory education that helps them understand how it is that they fit into the world, who they are, their real value. But it should be in order to be fully productive people, capable again of producing what you need. One of the farmers I know, you know Ben Burkett, Rose? Yeah. One of who was involved in those stuff, he said it one time. He said, you know, sometimes I wish we had left the money pooled together to use it as a development fund rather than getting it so everybody had it spent. Now, it could be that some other people have different desires, but I'm telling you, the work I'm doing with Southern Reparations Loan Fund is about creating a development fund, and part of it is about recognizing where the big pile of money actually is. The big pile of money isn't just for the government. The government ends up taxing us and taking some money and they might give a portion of it back. But the corporations, the churches, the other institutions, wealthy individuals, all have part of that big pile of money. And so the first part I want to work on, and I'm working on it, is getting part that some people can have in their sense to voluntarily repatriate back into some common usage so that it can be used. And where I want to use it is in those most marginalized communities that have the least access to what they need in order to be fully productive. So that's what the Southern Reparations Loan Fund is, and we can talk about it in some more detail later. And it has access to some of the money that's voluntarily being repatriated, because part of what we want to do is create a whole ecosystem of people who are again engaged in this process of self-determination, of realizing their capacity as producers in the world. So they're the ones that make the butter and give it to whoever they want to give it to, rather than sitting around with our hand out and say, can I have some butter and some cheese?
Yeah.